We are live. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to our first town hall meeting sponsored by the Landscape Ontario's COVID Task Force. We are receiving hundreds of calls and emails from members asking questions about how to deal with the COVID issue. In the previous webinars, we've heard presenters say that one of the best things you can do through this crisis is to communicate, communicate, and communicate. We're taking that advice. We have been communicating on a daily basis with email, webinar, and social media. We've decided to add this town hall webinar to give you an opportunity to ask questions of some of the task force members and each other through the chat function. Hopefully we'll have answers for you. If we don't, we will find the answers and report back as best we can. This town hall meeting is scheduled every Tuesday at 11. I think we are going to move it to 10 so we don't conflict with the Prime Minister's message until the COVID situation improves. And hopefully we don't have too many of these meetings. Before I introduce the members of the task force, I would like to make a few comments about them. These individuals are facing the same issues you are, but have made a choice to step up and to try to help. So many of our members are the same way. I regularly receive calls from members who want to help. Our LO staff and I are daily inspired by the contribution ethic that is the signature of our wonderful organization. I've often called Landscape Ontario a community for mutual benefit and improvement. In times like these, the energy that comes from the positive choices and actions of a caring community makes things a lot easier to deal with. Times like these show us how interconnected and interdependent we all are. Times like these give us the opportunity to learn what is really important in life. I want to take a moment to introduce all members of the Landscape Ontario COVID-19 Task Force. This group of individuals meet every day at 5 p.m. to review the situation and come up with direction for the rest of the members. They include Alan White, who's chairing, Jeff Olson, John Dursey, Dave Wright, who's the president of Landscape Ontario, Peter Ganane, Margot Byers, Terry Childs, Lindsay Ross, and James Riddell. Staff support include Heather McRae, Scott Barber, Leanne Knutson, Sally Harvey, Amy Buchanan, Terry Caddo, and Leslie Sison. If we could applaud on a webinar, I'm sure all of us would. The task force members who agreed to participate in this town hall are Alan White. Alan is the owner of a lawn care, irrigation, and snow operations company called Turf Systems. Jeff Olson is the president of BTN Nurseries, one of Canada's largest nursery operations. Jamie Riddell is the area manager, Eastern Canada, for Site 1 Landscape Supply. Dave Wright, the president, is the owner of Wright Landscape Services. And Peter Ganane is the owner of L'Oreal Landscaping. We will start this town hall meeting with a statement from Dave Wright, and then we'll go to questions. Dave, it's all yours.
So, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. As Tony mentioned, we've received hundreds of calls from business owners and employees wondering what to do. And the only thing that is clear is the lack of clarity from the government. We have tried to work through that lack of clarity to help you make your own choices and your own interpretation of the essential workplaces. And that's what we're encouraging you to do at this time, is to make your own interpretation. However, if you do decide to proceed, you need to make sure that you're safe and that your employees are safe and that the general public is safe. There are some of the essential workplaces that our members do qualify, and there's some that it's very gray. Our legal has told us that they can't give us an opinion. You need to talk to your own lawyer about to get that opinion, to make your own interpretation. There is a link on the email that was sent out last night that you can send a message to the government to ask directly for an interpretation, and they will deem whether your business is essential or not. We all need to send a message in on that link so that you have something in writing from the government that says whether you are essential or not. If you are working, make sure that you have something in writing, whether it's even your own policy on health and safety. Make sure that you have your opinion on why you are essential and what you're doing is essential. Because the police officer or the bylaw officer that may be stopping you, you'll need to show them something. So maybe Alan, you want to talk a bit further on that?
I can certainly extend on it. I think even yesterday with the announcement from the Premier at the end of the day that the Emergency Measures Act that he evoked on March 17th, which predated, that was the start of the whole COVID-19 Emergency Measures Act that we've seen unroll right up till most recently with the no more than 5 people gathering. All of the measures that are contained within that act, one includes the non-essential businesses that pertain to that emergency order. So again, we're expressing caution. Again, our reason for kind of being hesitant, one is legal can't give us an opinion. 2, it's an emergency measures order, which essentially, for those that don't understand orders and how they affect their business, not that dissimilar to the Ministry of Labor issuing a stop work order, Ministry of Environment issuing a stop work order. The province of Ontario has evoked a stop work order on the entire province and then issued an essential businesses to support the Emergency Measures Act as it related to COVID-19. If you don't have clear definition, you could be in non-compliance of an emergency stop order. That's what puts your business at risk, potentially puts employees at risk, because all your other programs from WSIB, the inability for employees to sue employers, general liability insurance, all these things that are contingent on you operating a business legally in the province of Ontario, all of a sudden have the potential to become null and void under an emergency measure stop order. So that's why it's imperative you get your own legal and you get direction from the province of Ontario, mostly because we weren't specifically identified within the act and the activities that do fall under it. So again, be clear, the website's pretty good. The tool they give, they want to know how you see your business being essential to the stop of the spread of COVID-19. And they want to hear how you would protect your employees and the general public if you were indeed to offer essential services. So I think that's where our standpoint is. We can only guide on 2 things. One, today is a task force, and that's one of our objectives, to bring the right information forward. And secondly, to help our businesses prepare not just for the COVID-19, the potential of this emergency order, as we've already seen, move from April 7th to now April 14th, but also the potential of this getting extended, like in the US is extended theirs till April 30th. What are the other things as businesses in this task force and group of business owners? What other things are we doing to make sure that we are protecting our employees, protecting our businesses, being in a position that we can ride this out together and to conduct business whenever this order changes or this threat? So again, COVID-19 is one piece of it, but I'm pretty sure all of us are in business to be in business tomorrow and for the foreseeable future. So part of our strategy is, today's that rainy day, unfortunately. How prepared were we for a rainy day? And if we're not prepared for a rainy day, how can we help you? I think is the purpose of this task force today. So that's my perspective, Dave. I don't know if any other panelists have anything to add.
Yeah, no, and I'm really sorry we can't be clearer. I mean, most of the questions that we're getting is can I work? And it's just not clear. And some of the members actually do have legal advice saying that they can proceed depending on what their business is, especially if they're on the ICI end of things. And so I do have a note from one of the members with the lawyer saying proceed only here, but not there. Some of the members have MPPs that have decided to say, yeah, if you fit under here, you can go, you're good to go. But Alan is right. You need to get some legal opinions too. And unfortunately, the legal opinion we had was it's not clear. So we're all stuck in this place. And sorry. Anyway, the purpose of a town hall is for the the participants, the attendees, to ask questions. And we have some questions here, so we'll start there. Kevin says, to avoid the spread while commuting to jobs, can I have staff drive in their own vehicles to job sites through the day? If they get in an accident, does their insurance cover their damage, or does mine? Good question. Really good question.
Get legal. How do we keep getting all the legal questions? We're gonna need a legal panelist.
Yeah.
With my insurance, that my staff have to carry their own insurance for their own vehicle, and their policy has to cover them driving to work, and it's still on their policy. So you have to, if you're driving to work, that's part of your job, that you have to notify your insurance provider. So that means the employee has to notify their insurance provider that they're using their car for work purposes, or how many kilometers they're driving for work, and their insurance company will cover them. Our insurance does not extend beyond our vehicles and our drivers.
It's no different than having a salesperson on staff that's driving their own vehicle.
Yeah, and again, super important to get that opinion. Go ahead. It's just super important to get that opinion from the government as well on the website, so that your employee's covered in the event he's working for you.
So in my past experience, as long as we did not require the associate to come to the shop and then proceed to a job site, the job site was where they were reporting to work that day, and they were driving to work. So as long as, like Peter said, as long as they had insurance for driving to work, at that point they would have been covered. That's in my experience. That's not my legal opinion.
Yeah. So Kevin, this is something we will get a legal opinion on, because it's an excellent question. So the panelists are giving some great advice from their perspective, but I think it's important to bump this up a little bit. Jeff, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Paul Botlich is asking, are any of you who are on this providing landscape services considering themselves essential? So, direct question.
From our perspective as a company, we're closed currently, but again, it's a choice of ours, and we're waiting legal opinion from the government based on the new website. So I saw a couple questions there talking about the 1-800 number. Bonnie Robinson actually noted that. We're advising you to use the actual website now, because they say they're going to give written response within 2 days. So that's going to be way clearer than that 1-800 number that we were calling. But depends on, we're a pest control company, so in ours, certainly any vector control or potential spread from mosquito and other things, when it becomes the point, most of the opinion that we're getting from the Ministry of Environment relates more to obviously food security, pest control within institutions like that. And it's certainly our business is insured for vector control and licensed for vector control. So that's kind of how we approached it. We've got varied opinions that when we're verbally talking to government, that weed control probably wouldn't fall into the pesticide exemption because it's, again, specific to COVID-19. So we're waiting for clarity like everybody else. That's all I can say from our perspective.
So in my business, we do a lot of commercial landscape construction on commercial buildings, on seniors' residences, and so on. And we are still doing the commercial work as it relates to getting those buildings open and for occupancy. So we're considering that work construction. We are not doing any residential landscape at this time. And our maintenance division is shut down for the near term until we get some clarification.
Peter, you want to add?
Yeah, I would agree, and our company is currently following the same policy, being shut down until April the 8th, at least, pending further clarification and any change from the government. And our maintenance is going to be limited to necessary maintenance for maintaining the integrity of the properties, making sure irrigation systems are turned on so we don't have losses of product on our clients' properties. Like who would have to honor the warranty if it died because we weren't able to get into a property? these are huge risks that are could possibly mount. For construction, it's completing ongoing construction projects that would be unsafe not to complete, or if it hinders other construction trades that are on site or completion of new construction. So we fully expect to be back at work, but we obviously have to have our policies in place to protect the public and to protect our workers first and foremost.
So Peter, maybe you can talk about what those policies will be.
So we have to follow, as a minimum standard, we have to follow what the health organizations are dictating. In addition, we have taken measures to further protect our staff. Our staff are providing feedback. Our Joint Health and Safety Committee is the one that has developed our WorkSafe program, and we're going to be testing it in our company before we attempt to use it on any job sites. Obviously hand washing, physical distancing. We're not going to be sharing tools. We're not going to be sharing time in the truck unnecessarily. We're going to have designated operators for equipment, so we're not having people jumping in and out of equipment. There's a lot of simple things that are, it's low-hanging fruit in terms of making choices to be safe, but we're working on a long list. I know Legends Landscape Supply has posted a list, a lot of good ideas from a lot of different members, and that overlaps a fair bit with our policies as well. Part of these policies are to instill trust in your clients and in your staff that you're going to be safe and you're going to protect the community, and to alleviate some of that fear. And I mean, the fear that some of my staff have about working, or the public has in general, is probably a healthy fear. You're going to follow those procedures. It means you're going to look for solutions, and that anxiety and that fear can be turned into action if we apply it for making ourselves safer.
Thank you, Peter. It's not just your employees, but it's your employees' families that are worried too, because we're getting notes from wives and other family members, wondering if their staff can work, or if their loved ones could work. Jamie, did you want to comment on whether you're essential? The same question.
So we're not performing landscape services, but we are supporting a lot of essential businesses. So we do supply electricians, plumbers. We are a hardware store by designation. And we do provide irrigation materials and the like to growers, as well as to many ICI, including the healthcare industry. So we are deemed essential, and we have our own legal opinion from our legal department of essential, and we are open.
Yeah, I think the point to underscore is get legal assistance, or at least get something in writing from an MPP or some government official. Jeff, did you want to comment on your end?
Yeah, for sure. As a grower, so we don't provide landscape services, but we're a grower, so we are deemed essential, and that is on a couple of fronts. It's both on the agricultural side and then on the supplier to the industry side. So both of those are qualifying us. So we're as a grower, we have other, I'll say, equally complicated issues from a financial standpoint. But from a ability to work standpoint, every grower out there should know that they're able to operate.
And can you comment about some of your policies, operational policies?
Oh boy, well, they're SOPs as far as many of the same. We have all the hygiene things that are in place. As far as hand washing, signs posted everywhere, health and safety committees all over this. And then we have a disaster procedure in case somebody does get diagnosed on site, and there's a procedure around how to handle them and how they get safely to a hospital, etc. So all of those things we have fully in place.
I think that helps with that. Katrina was asking a question about that. And I think that's something we're working on, taking the pool of our resources and organizations like workplace safety and prevention to bring their policies forward in template format. So I saw Katrina had asked a question about can we help with that? The other one, which is a great question, I think the panelists could probably help with, Tony, is Tal's question around contracts and people, especially now in light the emergency order has been extended with payments and the reality of either postponing services, canceling services, how to potentially deal with that in our businesses. I don't know if we haven't run into it yet. We're anticipating that potential in lawn care, but maybe some of the contractors or maintenance guys that would be out a little earlier than others if they're getting that kind of feedback. I know you've been dealing with it, Jeff, and the grower side, because obviously you're supplying to a lot of the retail chains right now, and they're obviously really kind of pulling back at the moment as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. On the retailer side of things, there's big question marks, and nobody's on the same page. Let's say that there are this large retailer has these policies, and this large retailer has other policies, and so it's sort of all over the place, sort of the way we are.
Yeah, and unfortunately on the retail end, it's clear that hardware stores with garden centers can remain open. But it's not clear that independents can remain open. So it creates a real dilemma there. Our retail group's actually going to meet today at 2:00 and try to figure that out. Anyway, I'd like to kind of go through these questions in order, just so that we don't miss any. And Arlene Green has said, we can provide goods to people who want to start their own vegetable gardens. Should we deliver, or would it be safer to have people pick the materials up? Any comment?
I can comment on that one if you'd like. I think in either case, you're going to want to have a standard operating procedures in place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe both ways, as long as you have the correct procedures in place. And we're developing those for our business right now, for the pickup side of our business as well. But I think both are going to be deemed safe, but you just got to have the right procedures in place.
Yeah, I would second that from a supplier standpoint. Restricting access to the building, having policies of curbside pickup as well as delivery, reducing the amount of touches right in the facility. So it's really about clarity of position of the order, making sure that the opportunity for touching is drastically reduced or non-existent. So from a delivery standpoint, it presents some interesting obstacles in how do you get a signature for delivery and things like that. How do you, with social distancing, how do you close that loop? So it is, you can do it safely any of the ways that you're suggesting, but it is really good to have a strict framework based on your location. We have many locations that are varying sizes and dimensions and layouts. And we take each location by location and develop a plan for entrance, exit, or not entrance, curbside pickup only. But it's really important that you think about each location and each type of transaction that you do individually, and have really extreme policies and expectations around how to guide those.
Yeah. So the term, the acronym SOP was used just in case. It's a standard operating procedure. So document everything, and you make sure that everybody understands what they are. Mike Goodman, really difficult question. Can you speak specifically to maintenance? Cleanups can wait a bit longer, but mowing will be essential in about 3 weeks or so, so the properties aren't a disaster. How are you handling this predicament?
I'll answer that. I think because we're grappling with that right now. I think there's a point where a spring cleanup becomes essential because you need to prepare the property for its ongoing maintenance, and certainly grass cutting at some point is going to become essential because we can't have 6 feet of grass out there on every property. That's when we've got vermin problems, we've got garbage problems because of that. And that leads to the sanitation point. which is covered under essential business. We have to also look at, say mulching beds or something like that. I look at that as an enhancement as opposed to something that is essential. So I think we need to look at our businesses as to what is an essential activity that we're doing. Make sure that at this time, those are the only activities that we are doing. And make sure that we're doing those safely. When you send your message to the government on that, when you follow that link to the government website, make sure you put that list of what you're deeming essential in that list and say, these are the things that I want to do. And this is why. This is why I feel that those tasks are essential. So that when we're out there in the field, even if you've got something written out as a policy, your own internal policy as to why those are essential, that will give you the backup instead of just standing there with your shrugging your shoulder and say, well, I thought I might just kind of get working because I need to work. This thing is bigger than the need to work. We all need to work because we've got businesses to keep going. But we also have to balance that with public health and safety.
And we are working again nationally. So we do have British Columbia, which is probably about 3 weeks ahead of us on maintenance. We're starting to get some feedback from them about what's happening in reality. As well, I think we have the ability, I know I do personally, as we work through the task force, to reach out to our American counterparts, which are in some pretty big growing zones already, but are in significant lockdowns in southern New York State and areas like that. So I think we're going to actively keep reaching out to try and at least bring to the task force page at least some future thinking, looking ahead to see what possible case scenarios to bring the right tools to you. So that we understand the realities. And Dave's 100% right. It's a real balancing act between the reality of what we do and the fact that we're doing this not in an economic turndown or a recession or something. We're doing this in a health crisis. That kind of changes the perspective of what's important. So hopefully we do not see in Ontario here what we're seeing potentially in Quebec, but certainly just south of our border in New York State to our very south of Michigan. So our fingers are crossed that's not going to happen, but we're doing the best we can to use our points of connection and networks to get that information as quickly as possible to our members here, while at the same time sharing what we're learning here in Ontario with the rest of the provinces across Canada.
Yeah, I want to underscore a point here for the attendees. That website that you can go to ask if you are essential or the activities that you have or you do are essential. Please go to it and please share with us what you get back.
Yes.
So that we can kind of crowdsource what they're saying to you. So I just encourage all of you to go to the website. The website is published in last night's update. So you'll see it there. Michael Garcia asks, what type of lawyer should we consult for legal advice? Well, our lawyer was a contract lawyer. And then, a couple of members went to friends who are lawyers. I mean, that's a good question, Michael. Any panelists want to tackle that?
Well, I can share. I sat on the contractor webinar that Robert gave. It's a real, and I've talked to members across North America that are dealing with, especially at the bigger level, the bigger construction contract level or maintenance contract level. Some of these contract pushbacks. There's a legal, obviously, implication. There may be some channels there for you, but there's also a relationship issue that you need to kind of consider as you work together, the same as we're working with our vendors. They're trying to balance the reality of it. They're trying to extend out and preserve their own cash, and you want to make sure that you have a relationship on the backside of it. So it is a delicate, from what I'm hearing anyway, it's a delicate situation to deal with the realities of contract fulfillment. Any of the other guys that are?
Well, I sat in on that too, and the takeaway I had was the risk to large contracts, especially using CCDC, the commercial contract form, is that there's a lot of potential costs that will be incurred if there is a stop in work, especially if it's a government ordered stop in work, that there will be huge claims for additional costs which are triggered, and as much of a financial hit that this is on the governments now, it would be double or triple again if we had to compensate all of the construction jobs that would be frozen. So I think it's only out of that last resort that they've held off. I think there still is an obligation to do the minimum amount of work necessary to maintain your contracts, to maintain your properties in order to help stop the spread of this virus. And the government is throwing a lot of money at us so that we can be whole. The 75% wage subsidy is huge. And that's presuming a reduction in billings of at least 30%. Well, I might have 50% reduction in billings for a couple of months, or 75% reduction in billings for a couple of months. But the wage subsidy will be a huge help to keep me from going bankrupt during those 2 months of minimum work necessary.
And we'll do a job
Peter,
of updating that information. Some of the support, again, there have been a lot of questions about them, but the Prime Minister's announcement on Monday, yesterday, a lot of details are supposed to come forward today and tomorrow. We'll do our best to make sure those are on the task force website as well, including the emergency loan support, $40,000 that's coming. How you can apply for that? What are the qualifications? And then details around the 75% wage subsidy as well.
So that actually leads to Arlene's question. So there is a lot of question about whether you should go on the CERB program versus the wage subsidy program. I know, Alan, you've struggled with that. I'm sure others have struggled with that. Can maybe, Alan, you start the answer there?
Again, this past weekend's announcement changed the math. So CERB is probably, again, for those that don't understand, that Canadian or emergency relief benefit for employees that don't qualify for EI. So that's the catch net at the bottom if all the other systems above it don't apply to the person applying. Whether they've used up all their EI or they don't qualify because they're an owner, subcontractor, never paid into EI. So that's the catch net for those. It's kind of a last resort. The next one above is obviously standard EI, but there's a lot of us are coming off winter claims. So we're still trying to figure out what those mean to anybody going past 13 weeks to the maximum. I think it's 35 weeks. To which you're also allowed to have sub-plan attached, which is a supplemental unemployment benefit program allowing you to top an employee's wages up from the 55% EI cap to 95% of their wages salary. That program is also contingent on the 13-week EI benefit maximum. So we don't have all the detail on that. Those two programs were kind of working. That's how we were structuring our employees, both on EI with some very top-ups on sub-plan to try and make them whole and preserve a bit of cash. That all made sense with the 10% wage subsidy because if I kept them on payroll, I'd have to pay the other 90% of their wages. So it's still going to have this pretty significant cash burn in our company with no revenue coming in. The 75% wage subsidy, if you were combining EI with sub-plan, the 75% actually makes a way more sense to be on that program, keep your employees employed. So we've pulled a bunch of our employees back off of the sub-plan to take advantage of that. Though we don't know the detail, there is still some confusion from our members' perspective anyway, because we're right in the seasonal transition. One of the conditions of that program is announced verbally is that, you need a 30% decline in revenues to qualify. Well, a lot of our members didn't have any revenues in March. Or February or January. So what's the 30% reduction in income based on? So that's one of the criteria. The $847 maximum makes sense as far as a weekly cap. And the other big one was where was the overall cap? So before it was 25,000 was the maximum under the 10% plan. We're waiting to find out the details if there is a cap. It doesn't look like there is, but again, we'll need to bring that forward. But that's kind of, it's a moving target. I don't think the program can get any better than the 75% wage subsidy. As a business owner, how are we affording all these programs? I'm impressed that they're coming forward the way they are because it's certainly going to help us, and we'll deal with the other piece later. But that's how we've changed our math. We brought, again, a bunch of our guys on it's going to cost us 25%, but they can be working remotely and they're ready, and we're making them able to meet their obligations too while we're shut down. Anybody else?
Does anybody else want to answer that question? CERB versus wage subsidy?
Well, the wage subsidy stuff's going to come out later on today. I think there's a plethora of programs that have been announced.
Mm-hmm.
There's CERB versus wage subsidy. There's work sharing. There's other loan type programs that are coming out for business. One thing you can be assured of is that it's going to be complicated, and the money's not going to come quickly. So I would be prepared for that.
Yeah.
That these are going to take. We're telling our employees, even who we put on EI, say 2 weeks ago, you could be looking up to 6 weeks, 8 weeks waiting periods on these things. You'll get the money back, but in the meantime, there's going to take. You got to survive that period as a business, as an employee. So that's all I would suggest is make sure that if you think this is coming tomorrow, I think you'll be in for a big surprise how long these programs take to get administered.
Yeah, CERB, they're saying May before they'd be able to get anything out. And it could be complicated. The U.S. counterparts I talked to yesterday, President Trump's $2 trillion plan that includes a lot of these similar programs, when I looked at the details, at least on the CERB, way more complicated. So, again, I think our government's doing a good job here.
Jamie, any additions to this, or?
No comment, no.
Okay. So one question that did come out of that conversation is, how do you help your employees deal with the waiting time? If there any ideas?
That speaks to Jeff's point. I think maybe Jeff even elaborating on what you're doing. I know what we're doing, but it takes cash on our part to bridge that.
Yeah. I mean, as an employer, you have to do everything you can to try to help your employees through the period. Last week, we sent out, $100 gift certificate for Loblaws to every one of our laid off staff. There's about 100 of them. Other than that, just helping them navigate through the programs. Our chief financial officer is in constant communication, so twice a week sending out notices about how to apply for the programs. And then if they really have never done it before, then we're helping them get those applications done and working through that with them so that they can at least get the paperwork done so that they're at least that far ahead, even though they are waiting for money. So if you as an employer can fund this a little bit to help them out and then support them through the process. And I think Landscape Ontario is offering a ton of resources as far as that's concerned as well on the website. Just direct them to that and then just help them any way you can. That's what I would say.
Yeah, we're adding all our employees. Going to see a couple of questions there related to just onboarding or bringing new employees on. Similar to what Jeff's doing, we're taking advantage of the sub program and our laid off employees, even employees that have never worked for us before. We're giving them about $100 a week just in subsidy, so that they at least have something for grocery. They have something for, it's going to be $400 or $500 over the month, that allows that bridge to happen, so that they're not completely without money for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So it shows a little faith on our part. We want them on our team. This is a difficult time for all of them. That's where I look at our cash reserves and just go, how far can I help them out? And they're getting, again, it's an investment from us. They're getting more than they get on just base EI, and that's cash I have available right away.
Any other comments?
I'm seeing some questions there that are a little confused on the wage subsidy thing. So the government isn't paying the employees the wage subsidy. No. What they're doing is they are not charging the company the the federal income tax portion of the what's it called? The payroll tax portion of the paycheck. Yeah. So that's where the company is saving 75% on that federal tax point. That money is going to the company to support the company, not to the employee.
Yeah, we got to see the detail, because originally on the 10% plan, that was just going to roll into your source deduction credit. Yeah. So at 10%, it would fit in there. At 75%, that dollar figure is a way higher than I would argue anybody's payroll deduction. So we haven't seen the details of how it's going to come back. To today's point, the subsidy is going to be paid by the employer, and part of the rationale behind this is, one, it doesn't overload the EI system. Two, way more direct access to cash to the employees. We just got to figure out what the bridge now is between us and the government, because now it's not between the employee and government.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's supposed to come out later today or tomorrow morning is our.
Yeah, they said they would have details on this by the end of the month, which is today.
Yeah.
By the way, in terms of legal advice, Arlene reminds us that Landscape Ontario does have a legal hotline that's free with membership. Use it. So we did send you a card earlier on that has that number. If you don't have that number, just email me. I'll make sure you get it. Tony@landscapeontario.com, or we'll make sure it's on the website in the prominent area.
Yeah, if you just do it and ask the question piece, Sally will get it too, as opposed to Tony. And either way, it'll get to the right answer. Get back to you.
Anyway, Dave is asking about WSIB implications of someone driving their own vehicles to the job site or between job sites. If they're involved in an accident while traveling to and between sites, what are the WSIB implications? That's
so
another.
There was someone else there who answered that question actually in the comments,
okay.
And they were a former insurance benefits person. So that employee has two options. One is to apply for WSIB, in which case then their insurance does not cover them. If they choose to go insurance, then WSIB won't cover them. So they have to take one or the other. If they choose WSIB, they can't sue, because that is part of the insurance side.
And then again, make sure, going back to our original thing, under the Emergency Measures Act, make sure you got an opinion from the government so that you aren't in non-compliance of a stop work order, or both of them may be moot points. And then in that case, they would just come after the employer, not the insurance company or WSIB.
Ben has a good suggestion that we try and collect or develop standardized rationale for why certain sectors are essential. I know that's what we're trying to do with the Garden Center group this afternoon. And Ben, that's an excellent suggestion. We'll work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else is here? Yeah, Terry Childs is giving some good advice. When you're getting rulings from lawyers and brokers, get it in writing. It's hard to prove a verbal opinion. Okay, Arlene's asking a question about the wage subsidy. What criteria are the feds using to determine 30% loss of revenue?
They'll let us know today.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The government's intent has been to help businesses. So even if it doesn't come out entirely clear today, I'm sure with a few questions it will. I've yet to see anything. It's been a pretty generous offering that nobody's really questioned how it's coming available to us, but there's a lot of money for Canadians in this.
Okay.
And keep checking with the LO. The LO staff has been phenomenal at updating the COVID website at LO. Within minutes of it getting posted by government, the staff at LO has put it on the website. So just keep checking there if you're looking for the latest news.
Yeah. Is there a template we can look at for health and safety procedures? So we are putting lots of stuff on the website, and we'll continue to put information on the website about health and safety procedures. So you might have to scroll through a lot of information, but there's a lot there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good comment, and we'll continue to do that.
Tony, again, this comes up in the discussion of the task force. Our priority right now is to bring information as quickly as possible, and we've agreed to not reinvent what's already available until we have time to do so. So again, to Peter's point, the Landscape Ontario staff and CNLA staff at the federal level are bringing information quickly and rapidly to the membership. and trying to, Tony hasn't talked about it here, but his staff and the CNLA staff, I understand, is helping reach out to all the members in Ontario to see how they're doing, and to make sure they understand the access to programs, and that there's help there. So once we get that backlog done, then some of the templates, we'll work on them ongoing, but right now there's a lot of information there, and it'd be nice if it was all tighter, but we're prioritizing ourselves to make sure we're getting the most information forward.
So Anne asks a really practical question. What do you do if your staff has to go to the washer? You can't go to a local coffee shop. They're all closed.
They're all locked up.
Yeah. So anyone want to answer that? No?
On construction sites, we obviously have washroom facilities.
Yeah.
I know one of my employees sent me a link to what they're doing in California. The maintenance crews have washrooms somehow on their trucks. So I don't know how they're doing that, but I mean, that is a real problem, and that's something we're going to have to work out.
Yeah, that's one of our, again, we're looking at the 13th, 14th. The reality is everything's closed right now. So short of coming back to your shop, which would probably be the safest place because it's an environment that you can control and make sure is clean for your employees. Anything short of that, you'd be potentially putting them at risk in the kind of the heart of the pandemic. So again, it's probably a judgment call on each business. Our advice is to kind of stay put until you can ensure those securities to your employees. And that's where we got it. Even as we look through all of our own practices during and post this emergency, what will work look like, and can I do all the steps in play from the time they show up at the place of work, whether it's a job site or your office, all the way through, from touching door handles to using restroom facilities to loading their trucks to sharing equipment to that's the stuff I'm saying right now why we're closed down. I've been busier now in the last 2 weeks, partly because of this, but also in my own business, going through all that process and procedure and thinking each of our own businesses through, and then what PPE, and do I even have access to that kind of PPE in our current situation? And if I don't, does the supply chain, with obviously emergency and frontline workers taking the majority of gloves, masks, protective clothing, sanitation equipment, it's all going there. So the supply chain pretty tight as far as us getting the PPE we would need to have in each of our trucks.
Hey, anybody else? I want to make sure everyone's got an opportunity to answer. No. Okay, Tyler is also asking a practical question. Can you have 2 people in a truck?
Our advice right now with the 3-hour aerosol and it's a confined space. We as a task force have discussed it. There's too much uncertainty with it to provide an opinion on it. Even with plexiglass, we're still concerned it's a closed environment. And that 3-hour aerosol, obviously this virus has an incredible ability to spread. And we don't know everything about it. So it's ongoing. It's a question that comes up in the task force probably every meeting, because we're looking at the end game and what practical things can we bring. So that's going to be at the forefront. I know Lindsay Ross has been talking to a few about it. We'll keep working at that, and the more we learn something, we'll share it. But if you're not seeing anything, it's probably because, and you've seen the question asked, it's because we don't have an answer. So again, from my perspective, we'll keep working. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts on the panel here.
We're going one employee per vehicle. So some jobs we're actually, because not everybody's working right now. We're only doing construction right now. So, but typically we may have one truck on the job site. We'll have 2, and the rest of the employees are driving their own personal vehicles. So, yeah, it's 1 to a vehicle.
Peter?
I mean, that's where we're headed on our construction sites. The maintenance crew, it's harder to have a conga line of vehicles driving around because we'll have multiple sites in a day, and sending 3 or 4 vehicles in a row, it seems a bit odd, but it may be what it comes down to. We're looking at the plexiglass. We're looking at wearing masks in the truck. We're looking at having assigned seating and and wearing masks and plexiglass, and we're looking at all of those possibilities. But it might be that we end up with a crew of 2 instead of a crew of 3 or 4, and it might be that we have to have personal vehicles follow the maintenance truck, and I'll have to pay for that extra vehicle.
Yeah, a lot of questions right now.
Jeff, Jamie, do you want to add to that?
No, I've got nothing.
Okay.
We typically travel in groups of 1 anyway, so I've got nothing to add.
Okay.
Workplace safety and prevention services hopefully will give us some indication as well as they work through these questions.
So John's asking an interesting question. Will city staff no longer provide landscape maintenance services on city sites? I don't know if we can answer that, but
That's up to the individual city.
Yeah, because I do know I did receive a call or a picture of one of the cities working. The member was staying home, so I guess it's up to the city. Yeah, you're right.
City.
They're still using pesticides too, so let's not use them as a guide for our industry.
There's some in cities, depending on, I know a few of our employees, their family members work for cities, and they've suspended most, like swimming pools are closed, obviously arenas. Some of their facilities are staying open for emergency shelter. They're part of the emergency strategy plan. So those are there, but all grounds crews right now, for the most part, are on hold, except for right now, most of them seem to be putting fences up around parks.
Yeah. Mason's asking, as a small business with only residential customers, are we essential? So,
That website's your tool.
Yeah.
And if we can provide, I think it's a great earlier question. If we as sector groups can provide some guidance as to some consistency in what gets filled in, because there's 2 questions on that form. One is what of your services do you deem essential and why? And the other is if you are deemed essential, how can you provide a safe workplace?
Okay, Eddie's asking where the website is. Maybe some of you on the attendee list can supply the link.
Yeah, scroll down. It's been put up there a couple times.
A couple times, okay.
Yeah, as well as WSPS. I see John Durza put up the link there. It's got some good tools in there as well.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the attendees are supplying great information and answers themselves. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking for more questions.
Well, that was our thought in hosting this. Why Tony's doing that, hosting this town hall, just to give us the opportunity to have conversation. There's lots of structured webinars, but this format allows us as a task force to understand what you're feeling, what your questions are, and secondly, provides us a forum to chat with you.
Okay, is there a clear way that we were able to show the 30% decrease in sales? Amy's question.
Oh, yeah. Let's see what
We don't even have the requirements yet for that. I think we need to wait for what the government is looking for, because I could go 30% down from last month, 30% down from last year at this time, or 30% down from my budget. I don't know what the answer is. So until we get clarification from the government, and unfortunately, I hate saying that, but yeah, we need to wait for that.
Okay.
Anthony's message there about is Ontario One Call services available, and they are. I saw a notice from them saying that they are available.
They're reprioritized, but it's there. It's available.
And landscape services is on the priority list.
Okay, Amy asks an interesting question. Amy Rubino, does anyone have information in regards to the EI program for the owner that is going to be laid off due to having care of children at home when the owner does not participate in EI?
Yeah.
So what's the support for owners?
That's CERB.
Yeah.
CERB.
That's CERB, or the if you don't have cash flow, the $40,000 that's made available through that interest-free loan for 1 year, that's available too. And we'll see. I'm hoping today the details on that subsidy as it gets unrolled too. But from what I gathered from the Prime Minister's comments, it's going to be contingent on you being able to provide a cash flow crisis. So if you have cash and liquidity in a company, then you probably don't qualify. But if you are in definite struggle, then that 40,000 is available for payroll, which I'm assuming could be for the owners. Otherwise, it's serve. If you haven't taken advantage or paid in, which was I think 2 or 3 years ago, the government made available EI to owners, but you had to pay into it.
Okay.
And what I understand of the $40,000 interest-free loan is it's available to small businesses only, businesses with payroll up to $1 million only.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul has a question here. I had a couple of employees that were to start on the 18th of March to do training. That has all been canceled, understandably. I held off on having them start as well. Is there anything I can do to help them? They weren't on payroll yet, work no hours. They're good candidates, and I'd hate to lose them when in a couple of weeks we would be working. So
I can share what we're doing right now while this conversation is going on is once or twice a week right now, we're doing our onboard training via Zoom. So our key managers are doing it digitally. Zoom allows you to share PowerPoint, slides, pictures. So they've crafted 1-2 hour segments. You're paying your employees, but the most important thing that we're feeling is that it keeps them engaged. It looks like we have interest to keep them on board, have them ready. And it's distracting versus just sitting at home wondering what if. We have access to these platforms. They have virtually no access other than CNN or CBC to see that the sky is falling and no way to put in contact. So even if it costs you a couple bucks to train them without bringing them on, I think it's well worth it. And then the bigger benefit is just having that face-to-face engagement. Let them know that you care and that you're serious and that you're providing hope. You're training because there's going to be a tomorrow. That's what we're doing.
Paul is saying if you access the $40,000 loan, is there a criteria for the 10,000 forgiveness? And can we use this money to pay employees?
They said you can use it for payroll, but we don't know the details yet.
Yeah, and for the $10,000 loan, the wording that I read was if you pay it back by the end of 2022, then they'll forgive, like I think in full, then they would forgive 10,000 of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Michael's saying portable toilets from sanitation services are booking like crazy. So.
Yeah.
Are gas stations open on the washroom end of things? Does anybody know?
Some are, some aren't.
Yeah.
Again, how do you guarantee your employees' safety when they use it? That's the bigger question you should be asking.
Yeah. Okay. Just scrolling through quickly. Be patient, please.
Yeah, thanks to your team, Tony, Victor, Scott, Amy, all putting lots of good links on there. So scroll up and down through those links.
Yeah.
And maybe while we're waiting, Tony,
yeah.
a thought that I had, I saw the images of the opera singers in Italy singing from their balconies. And I was wondering if there's anything we could do as an industry to help bring some good cheer. And while we're all at home, I expect every one of the viewers and every member of Landscape Ontario to have a sparkling front landscape for the benefit of their neighbors and the enjoyment of the neighborhood, people walking around. I think that's the least we can do as professionals, is to set a good example and have some good cheer in our front yards.
Yeah.
Nice ideas. I'd love to ask everybody else, what can we do to bring some positive vibrations to this whole issue?
We're bringing weekly.
I thought, Peter, you were going to suggest that we all sing together.
Yeah. You don't want to hear me sing. We're bringing weekly emails about spring and getting ready and how to do the professional work we do in their own backyard if we're not there. So just, again, it's distraction for them. Get out in your yard, pull some weeds, prepare the soil. It's just little gardening tips. We did that last 2 weekends, and the feedback from our customers was incredible. They were so thankful that when we, in this doom and gloom, we're connecting with them, we're caring about them, and we're giving them encouragement to go do something. So we didn't get any negative comments from doing that, and we're doing it every Friday.
Anyone else have any ideas posted on the chat line? So
Yeah, I think there's something, Tony, here. Something we've been thinking of here is I think some of the critically important people in this fight are the frontline workers at grocery stores, and of course our first responders. And we're encouraging our customers through the large chain stores and independent retailers to somehow recognize those folks through coupons, gift certificates, something that they can use to, nice Mother's Day gift, a nice gift for their garden would be really, I think, something we could do as an industry to show our appreciation for them.
Super.
I think we talked about last day in the task force, Tony. It's just be careful too. Remember what the first responders are all asking us to do. So if we're going to do, like Paul says, find an electronic way to forward a card, to send a coupon to, I think the last thing we want is them to see a whole bunch of people out in the marketplace providing something for them. As much as we'd love to give them a flower or something along those lines, I think the biggest thing they want to see us all do is stay at home. So if we stay at home for them, then how do we do it and reach out? So use creative either social media or digital platforms to get coupons or coffees or something on Mother's Day, I think would be advantageous.
Super. So Lisa and Dave has the same question. Would like to know the answer to this question. What requirements are being made of staff in regards to their time away from work? How can you ensure that they are taking steps to be safe for the sake of their families and the rest of our staff?
I think that's a really good question, and it's something that we don't have a whole lot of control over. All we can do is educate our employees on safe practices, and it's educate, communicate, listen to what they're saying. Because I heard one of my employees talking about his sister being sick, and he was at work, and we said, no, go home. You can't be here. And not that she had COVID, but she was ill. So we need to be on top of what they're doing and listening to what they're talking about. And when they start saying, "Well, I was over at my friend's place last night," you say you can't do that. And if they continue to do that, they get reprimanded. They may get fired because of it.
Yeah,
and that's stuff that you need to talk with your HR consultant. But those are some of the and they need to know what the repercussions are of not following safe practices at home and on the weekends when they're not at work, because all we can really control to the best of our abilities is what's happening at work, and they need to take those practices at home as well.
It's a lot to do with informing. It's a lot to do with asking for a commitment. You can't enforce it, but you can certainly ask for the betterment of your team and for their families. Commit to being there for us and doing the right thing.
And there's a level of trust that you get when you're working on a crew. If it's the same people every day, you learn to count on each other on the job site, and you have to be able to trust your fellow coworkers that you're not going to hurt each other, and that includes your choices you make at home. I think that's just a culture thing that you can have within your company, and we're keeping our crews segregated once we get back to work. This is going to probably be the condition all summer, and we're going to have that expectation all summer that our crews, the staff, are going to have to take care of each other, and they're going to have to look out for each other.
But we're starting that culture now, so we hear it over and over: communicate, communicate, communicate. So lead by explaining to your employees to build that culture, what you're doing, what your plan is, and how important they are to that plan. So we set up daily Zoom chats with our key managers. We've set all our employees up on WhatsApp so that they have group chat ability. A big part that you're going to see start to come out of LO, and I think there's a few webinars scheduled, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but mental health is a big issue, and this is stressful for our employees, particularly employees that are in between. So we've heard a few comments in the chat line and here on the panel. The employees that have never even worked for you before. Can you imagine being that potentially young person, or maybe even someone with a family that's in that limbo? So anything you can do to open channels of communication will reinforce this culture Peter's talking about when we come back to work. And you're going to have a personal buy-in in the fact that I need you to do this in order for this plan and us all to come back to work quickly can actually happen. So it's building that trust now, but I encourage everybody to communicate as much as you can with your team, even though they're at home. Set up a set every Monday or Wednesday at 9 a.m. or something, just to have like this, a coffee house with your team.
Yeah. There will be 2 mental health webinars this week, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. They take different perspectives. One is for employees, one is for the owner and business. So I suggest that you do sign up for them. They are free. And we have a number of other webinars planned. One for the employees, another one to try and get some clarity around all these government programs, to identify them and clarify them. And then April 1st is next Monday, there's a webinar with some business coaches that you should pay attention to.
Yeah.
I think one more question, and then we'll probably call it until next Tuesday. And we'll take, who is it? Jonas's question. What's happening to grower stock that is already grown but has no market because some of the retailers are shut down? So Jeff, that's yours.
I don't know. Jonas, I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you. Hey, what we're hearing in the marketplace is that these folks are going to be opening at some point this week, whether that's April 15th, May 1st, May 15th, or June 1st. So all I can say is, as a grower, we're growing it as cold as we can to last as long as we can. So if it was scheduled for, a 1st of May delivery, we're planning on that being the 15th of May. So we're trying to schedule out 2 weeks at least later in our crop scheduling than originally. But I'll tell you, I don't think everything's going to get sold this year. So I'd be preparing and getting yourself onto some of those programs through agri-stability, farm credit, those types of things. One thing's for sure, all of us are going to come out of this with more debt. So in order to keep the business going. So be prepared for that. Be creative about your sales. Try different channels, try different ways of selling, different packaging, different, curbside pickup, those types of things. Be creative when you're marketing to your customers, but prepare for a significant amount of product that's not going to sell.
Okay. On that note, I just want to thank Jeff, Alan, Dave, Peter, Jamie for stepping up and for caring. I want to thank the task force. They're just incredible, that all the work that's being put in on behalf of everybody. I want to thank all of the delegates or all the attendees here. They have that same spirit, I can tell, because they're answering each other's questions and they're communicating. And so I just want to add a few closing words. In times like these, I find comfort and support from being in the company of so many wonderful contribution-oriented individuals within the Landscape Ontario community and the broader landscape community across North America. We actually are talking to each other across North America these days. I also find inspiration in the truth that no matter how bad things can get, we all have the opportunity, freedom, and power to choose our response and our attitude. We can choose courage, we can choose to act, we can choose to help others, we can choose hope, we can choose to practice empathy, we can choose to understand that we are better together, we can choose to care. So see you at the next town hall meeting next Tuesday. We'll probably make it at 10. And please visit the Landscape Ontario COVID-19 resource page on a regular basis for updates. Take advantage of the excellent series of webinars. See you soon. Keep safe. Keep well.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck.